All right, what's happening, guys? I'm here with a Week 5 recap, and we've got a new name for these things that I do. I threw it out to both D1 and D2, and really like the name that Roger Tiller, a lot of you guys know him, came up with. This is the Statisfaction Report, and this is going to be the Statisfaction Report Week 5 recap. All right, Kia Sorrento match of the week. This is usually the matchup that scores the fewest amount of points, but Justin came to play. I've been saying all week how lucky he's been. He's responded this week, but he has also said that he doesn't necessarily see it, continuing, or he's not confident that it's going to continue. But he did come to play. 25 plus points from Brian Quick. Deshaun had a huge game. And Arian Foster with 30 points this week. He is, however, probably going to need to shore up his tight end position. Kobe Fleener with only 4 points. Levine Toilolo with 0 on his bench, and his only other tight end is, I think it's Troy Nicholas. If he does hope to make a playoff run, he's probably going to need to upgrade that tight end position. For Masonites, he started out hot Thursday Night Football. First half, Jordy Nelson with a 66-yard touchdown catch, but that was his only catch of the game. Gates does continue to continue with his resurgence, 22 points. And Fitzgerald, huge game by his standards, 8 points. Chaos is 4-1. Shooting for the playoffs. Masonites drops to 1-4 and is probably a seller. The next matchup, Bear Down over Cecil Seashorts. The coin flip did me right this week. For the first 2 matchups, I did a coin flip. They both landed heads and they were both correct. This really should have been a close match. Cecil Seashorts, oof. There was DeMarco Murray, and then there was everyone else on your team. DeMarco, 5th straight game with 100 yards. 5th straight game with 20-plus points. Continues his MVP caliber season. But everyone else on Chris's team was below projections. And there were 6 dudes that scored 6 or less. That's not going to get the job done. So at least Chris did not get unlucky this week. This took away from his unluckiness. That makes you feel any better, as you would have lost to every other team in the league. For Forte Yard Dash / Bear Down / Mike, he had very few average performances this week. He had a lot of guys that did really well and a lot of guys that did pretty poorly. Worked out for him. He did get the victory. But Elshon, Greg Olson, and Russell Hustle and Bustle, Man Muscle Wilson, each with 21-plus points. He did, however, have 4 dudes with 5 or less, and he sold Matt Asiata and Marcus Wheaton at the right time, because they only combined for 7 points. He flipped that for Marshawn. More on that soon. My Stone Cold Lead Pipe Lock of the week was Fisters, or the Fist Pumpers, over Jibo, over Honey Badger, over Bean Snap, Jaquiz My Pants 2, the Frankenmuth, Germans, whatever you want to call them. This was not even close. Almost doubles up Jibo. So Jibo, no one with more than 15. He ran out both not Sean Green. He's moved on. Chris Ivory and Chris Johnson. 2 running backs out of the New York Football Jets. They combined for 5 points. Kelvin is potentially injured. More on that soon. But Stafford will probably struggle if Kelvin is not out there. And the other Kelvin Benjamin. One's Kelvin, one's Kelvin. Whatever. Lowest output of the year, only 4 points. Over on the Fisters, huge game from Demarius and the rest of his wide receivers. Demarius with over 40 points, top scorer of the week. He also had 20-plus points from Julio and Vincent, finally. And then all 5 of his starting wide receivers had at least 17 points. So that also includes Macklin with 18, and A.J. Green with 17. Very, very solid, spectacular performance by his wide receivers this week. The rest of his team, though, not so much. In terms of running back, Vereen finally outperformed his projections for 13. But Monty Ball, injured. Does this hurt Durs? Well, it depends on who is replacing Monty, because he does have Hillman. Is it going to be C.J. Anderson? Is it going to be that? I don't even remember that other guy's name. I'm going to look it up soon. But if Ball is out for a while, and if it's not Hillman, that greatly hurts his running back core. Zach Ertz with another subpar game. Is it time to play Timothy Wright? Like at the beginning of the year, that would have been crazy, but Wright is starting to catch on. No pun intended, in New Orleans. Had a pretty good week this past week. So he does have Wright on his bench. There's, wide receivers, because it's PPR, do win you games, do win you championships. But maybe he does need to swap one of his stud wide receivers for a stud running back. I don't know. It was the Nuts over Borkham's Ball Busters. This was a lot closer than what I thought. I thought Nuts were going to run away with it. He did win, but I think it was only a 9-point victory. So yeah, it was a lot closer than what I expected. B Cubed, throwing in the towel. He had, outside of Kelvin, if he wasn't injured, he had the best trade chip out of the 5 teams that are considered the bottom feeders right now in Marshawn Lynch, and he traded him for 4 guys that this past week combined for 7 points, as opposed to the 22 that Beast Mode put up. And he gave up a very valuable draft pick because it projects to be a high second-round pick. You could have gotten an Andre Williams there or an Allen Robinson there from this past year's draft. Growing pains. I'm not going to spend any more time on that. Bark's throwing in the towel. I don't need to talk about his team anymore. Actually, he was led by his kicker, 24 points out of Phil Dawson. So that's a great week. And he's going to have to put up a lot more of those types of weeks if you hope to compete this year, now that you got rid of Beast Mode. From the Nuts, big games from Andre Ellington. Finally, I have him in the other league. And from Dez. Everyone else, except for his kicker, Dan Bailey, had 11 points versus the 10 projected points. Every other person was below projections. Donald Brown is now injured. The hits keep coming for the backfield for the Nuts. He's very thin behind Andre Ellington, and Fred Jackson, who he sat this week, performed very well. So as long as those two stay healthy, he should be okay. But very, very thin behind those two. Unless C.J. Anderson gets the start in Denver. You don't have to be good to be valuable as a running back in Denver. No Sean Moreno last year. Monty Ball was putting up pretty decent numbers this year before he got injured. But with that Peyton Manning-led offense, you're going to have some opportunities. Jaquiz over the Fear Boners. Rob, I don't pick against you every week. I've only picked against you 3 out of the 5 weeks, so I am only 2-3 in your matchups. I don't know if I'm going to pick you tonight or not. We shall see. But for the Fear Boners, Pierre Thomas out of nowhere. This is the type of Pierre that I expected from the beginning of the year. Now that Sproles was gone, I expected him to be their PPR machine. 8 catches, I think over 100 yards, and 30 points. So that's my surprise of the week was Pierre Thomas. But besides Cutler and besides Pierre, everyone else scored below their projections. I'm starting to sense a little bit of a theme this week. A lot of guys underperforming. And then I've already mentioned this guy. Besides Beast Mode, out of the 5 teams that are the bottom feeders, Kelvin Johnson is, well, now that Beast Mode has moved to a contender, Kelvin Johnson probably would have been the best trade chip that's still available. The best, expiring contract that should be available. And now he's injured. I'm paying $93 for 5 years for him in the other league. So this $128 for 1 year doesn't hurt you, Ferguson, other than you're going to have a hard time getting a whole lot for him if he continues to be injured. I'm pulling for him. I really, really am. And that trade offer that I sent you this past week to get Kelvin, that's off the table. now. Over for Jaquiz, Peyton Manning. His breakout performance of this year, by far his biggest output. I think he had 31 points. His previous high for the year was 22. Maybe he's rounding back into his 2013 form. 2 touchdowns to Thomas and Thomas for 4 total touchdowns. Huge game by Peyton. Golden Tate and Justin Forsett, both with 22 plus. Forsett blowing Bernard Pierce and Teleferrzo. I know that's not right. Forsett looking pretty solid in Baltimore. Who would have thunk that at the beginning of the year? But again, besides these 3 guys, everyone else below projections. And then the one guy that really sticks out, a week after Rob had to watch Larry Donnell pretty much single-handedly beat his racist Redskins, or Washington Redskins. He puts up a 0 spot this week. So maybe I should not have said that he's a top 10 play the rest of the week. In the impact matchup of the week, the rivalry matchup of the week, boom, Hurricanes over the Rampage. As far as the Rampage is concerned, I really thought I was in trouble after Lacey's huge performance on Thursday Night Football. Gronk is continuing to play more snaps, continuing to put up some points. I think he was up to close to 70% of the snaps this week, which is almost double what he was putting up earlier in the year. And Cooks is actually looking like the correct pick for Reitzma at the 2 spot. I ridiculed him a little bit earlier, saying that he definitely should be taking Evans. But Cooks has been solid. And he did have solid games from both Phillip Rivers and T.Y. Hilton as well. So he did have a solid week. Graham got injured. How long is he going to be out? Maybe you throw in Owen Daniels. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, top points again. That's 4 out of the first 5 weeks. I would be 50-5 if I played everyone every week. Easily tops in the league. I have the most points in the league by a huge margin. But I got to be honest, I did not expect any of this. I expected myself to struggle to even compete in my division. It's a pleasant surprise, but it is a surprise to even me. Welcome back to Kendall Wright. 2 touchdowns, 26 points. Julius, I already mentioned, had 2 touchdowns. Matt Forte, PPR machine, they just kept dinking and dunking to him. 32 points for Crabtree. My lone really weak spot this week was Crabtree, only 2 points. So I've mentioned a few of the bottom feeders and the contenders, and we're very well separated right now. There's 7 teams that I consider contenders that are fighting for 6 spots, and then the bottom 5 are probably considered sellers and cellar dwellers at this point. There's a 2-game difference between the 7th-ranked team and the 8th-ranked team according to the standings, and almost all these guys have more points than the bottom feeders as well. Yeah, in fact, the top 7 all have at least a 58% chance of making the playoffs. The bottom 5 all have less than a 10% chance of making the playoffs. The team most likely to drop out is this lucky Justin. Maybe he continues his luck. He is 4-1 right now. If we ignore divisions, he's sitting in 3rd place, I believe. Maybe 4th place. But he still has a good shot. It's more than 50%. He's at 58.6% probability of making the playoffs. On the flip side, those the top 7, if you don't already know, Jaquiz My Pants, the Hurricanes, the Fisters, Rampage, Chaos Pulsating Rhino Nuts, and Forte Yard Dash. The bottom feeders are everyone else, and I don't have those listed off, but that's the Fear Boners, Cecil C. Shorts, Borkham's Ball Busters, Ivan, whatever he's calling his team, and Andy Bryan, Chris. Oh, and the Masonites. Maybe it's the Masons. I don't freaking know. But the team out of those 5 that is most likely to come up is Chris with a 9.2% chance. So it's only week 6. Buyers and sellers are very clearly defined. And the last thing, we have a special edition of the Satisfaction Report preview, the week 6 preview, coming up tonight. Couple special guests. Can't wait. Peace.